Welcome to Podnutz Daily for June 6, 2008. First computer I want to talk about is a gateway I had today. Customer complained that he thought it was infected with a virus or two and it kept rebooting. So I ran the procedure that I discussed in Podnutz Daily yesterday, where you go into safe mode. I ran Smith Fraud Fix, CCleaner, Dial a Fix, then installed Avast, had Avast do a boot time scan. Also went into his add remove programs after that and checked if there was anything fishy in there. Then went into MS config after that and looked if there was anything fishy in there, and they looked okay. So I rebooted the computer, let Avast do the scan, let it finish. Now the computer keeps rebooting. I'll be running it for about 10, 15 minutes. Computer wants to reboot on itself. So I ran out of time to look at this one today, but I'm thinking it's a hard drive problem. Could be a motherboard problem or even a power supply problem, because it seems to reboot after the computer is doing something labor-intensive like a virus scan or something like that. I have a feeling it's power supply. I'm going to check. I'm going to replace that on Monday and see what that does. If not, I ran check disk on the hard drive thinking it might have been a corrupted Windows installation or something like that. But we'll see how that goes. If anybody has any suggestions, you could email me that at mail@podnutzdaily.com. Okay, second computer was another computer full of viruses, but the main thing that she wanted to get done on her computer was she bought Norton 360, and Norton Antivirus 2006 was still installed on the machine, and it wouldn't go away, and she wanted to get Norton 360 on the machine and the old Norton installation off. Now, you guys know how much I hate Norton, but that's besides the point. The customer bought it, so I got to put it on the machine. Anyway, halfway through the Windows or the Norton uninstall, the computer somehow turned off, so it didn't get to finish the install, and it basically stopped it didn't get to finish the uninstall. It basically stopped the uninstall right in the middle of it doing that. Now, when you do that with a Norton product, it doesn't like it very much. And next time you go and try to uninstall that program to finish the uninstall, it's going to say, look, you tried doing it before and you let me go halfway and you didn't let me finish, so I'm going to give you an error. And it gives you this error. Well, luckily on Norton's website, they have a Norton removal utility, which I use to get rid of this. And so if you have a corrupted install or uninstall on Norton, go to Norton and get the uninstall utility and or repair utility. I can't remember exactly what it's called, but what it basically does is it gets rid of every Norton product on your system. So not only did it take the 2006, it also took the 360 that she was trying to get running. And so basically that was better than nothing. All we had to do was go ahead and reinstall the 360 and everything was fine after that. So check out that utility if you're having a problem with Norton products. On the same topic as Norton, had a on-site job today where a customer was trying to hook up her laptop to her wireless network. And she wasn't even getting a wireless signal. And what was happening was, if you looked at the device manager in the control panel, her wireless driver was acting up and had a yellow mark next to it. So rather than going through and looking for the driver and reinstalling it, basically what you could do to quickly reinstall a driver, if you see that, and you've tried a couple other things and they're not working, is just uninstall that particular device completely. Not disable it, uninstall it. And the next time you reboot the computer will find it on its own, install the driver on its own if it's on the machine, and you should be fine. So that's what we did with that, and the wireless driver installed itself after the reboot. Okay, so after the wireless driver installed itself, it found the internet, but it wouldn't find a network printer. We went and checked out why the network printer wasn't connecting up, and it turned out the person had a network printer hooked up via USB, but also hooked up via Ethernet. So it was getting confused there. So what we did was unhook the USB part of it, let it just use the Ethernet, because that's what you want to do with a network printer. And this way all the computers can use it easily. It doesn't have to be hooked up to a computer that's on all the time to share the printer. Then we reinstalled the printer, and that worked fine. The last thing, though, was we tried to set up file sharing between the laptop and a desktop she had on her network. The laptop was wireless, the desktop was hardwired. So you need to make sure when you're doing file sharing that the workgroup name is the same on all the computers. Otherwise, they won't be able to talk to each other. They'll be able to share the same internet connection no matter what the workgroup name is, but you won't be able to do file sharing unless the workgroup name is the same. So we changed the workgroup names to be the same. Computers rebooted. Then we looked to see if they recognized each other, and still no sign. Okay, well, the laptop was running Norton, and I think it was like a Norton System Works or something like that. And almost every time I have a problem with Windows networking, it's because Norton is blocking the computers from being able to share files. So if you ever run across a problem with file sharing, just see if Norton is on and enabled and running. And there usually is a setting there in Norton, dug in there deep somewhere as usual, to get the computers to find each other, and then you're able to share files. But I don't have a lot of luck with keeping that feature on. Norton likes to seem to turn it off whenever it wants. So you could get it running, and then the next day the customer says, well, it didn't work anymore, and then you got to go and handle Norton again. So I might just name this episode How I Love Norton. Okay, the last thing we did on that same computer, the wireless laptop that we're trying to hook up to the wireless network, I actually forgot to mention one thing about how we got that computer hooked up wirelessly. After we installed the driver, the computer still wasn't finding the router. In fact, it found every other router in the neighborhood except the one we were looking for. So if this ever happens to you, go check the router that you're trying to find and log into it through the desktop or whatever computer is hooked up to it. If there's no computer hooked up directly to it, hardwire your laptop straight to the router so you could log into it. And it's usually 192.168.1.1 is the most common IP address of the routers. If you don't know what the IP address of your router is, go to the command prompt by going to Start, Run, CMD, hit Enter. It'll bring up the command prompt, and then type ipconfig and look at what the default gateway is. That's going to be the IP address of your router. So type that IP address in your browser, log into the router. This was a Linksys router, so the default username and password for a Linksys router is, username is just blank, and the password is admin. And they've been using that for years. So if you're trying to get into a Linksys router and don't know the password, try that first, because that's the default. Okay, we got into there, and we found that the CCID was disabled. That's SSID, not CCID, which means it wasn't even putting out a signal, or the signal was masked. A lot of routers have this feature. Just make sure that that's enabled. Otherwise, you're not going to get a wireless network hooked up. Don't know why she had it set that way, because she said somebody had come out before us and tried to set up the wireless network, so they must have botched something up pretty bad. Anyway, turned that on, found the wireless network, everything was fine. That's pretty much it for today. Wasn't a very eventful day. Fridays are a little slow. So we'll see what happens Monday. Definitely check out tonight. I'm going to release Podnutz, the weekly episode, podnutz.com. You can listen to that. Bryce Whitty from technibble.com is the guest. And we did about an hour-long interview, and it turned out really well. He's got a lot of awesome things to say. So definitely check that out, podnutz.com. Join the Podnutz